Yes, it's 6 o'clock now.
All righty. So at this point, we will say welcome to the regular school board meeting for the Shelton School District for November 24th. It is 6 o'clock. We have, we're just 2 days away from Thanksgiving, so I want to wish everyone a healthy and happy Thanksgiving and thank everybody for taking time out to join us this evening. We have all board members with us, and therefore we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and start off with the pledge. Oh, I see we have a, who'd like to volunteer? Front and center on my screen is Paula Kennedy. Can I nominate you?
Absolutely. We'll do it just like I do in the announcements. Ready? Begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Well, thank you so very much. That was very strong, and I can tell you get lots of practice with that. So before we get started, we'd like to welcome Mason Web TV. They have graciously offered to record and stream our meetings during these virtual times. I'd like to explain that we continue to learn and evolve in this virtual meeting realm and are continuously trying to improve transparency and access for our community. While we began by streaming and recording these virtual meetings on YouTube, we identified several issues: consistency, logistics, lag time, just to name a few. When we realized some community members may have missed public comment period, we made the decision to invite the community to Zoom, but that was inconvenient for a variety of reasons as well. So we explored additional options within Zoom. Their list of features is ever growing, but ultimately we believe that the gracious offer of Mason Web TV to record and stream our meetings during these virtual times is the best solution for the district and the public. People wishing to leave public comment are still advised to call into the Zoom meeting either at the beginning or during the superintendent's report to coincide with the two community comment periods. And reports such as the school improvement plans have been posted on the website. Again, we welcome Mason Web TV and thank them for the service they provide to the community by recording and streaming the Shelton School Board meetings. So with that, we will move to the adoption of the agenda. And I believe we may have an amendment to the agenda this evening.
Yes, I'll move to adopt the agenda with the deletion of item 4.03 monthly budget reports and item 5.06 proposed minutes for November 5th.
Okay, and those are items that just need a little bit more work, and they'll be on the agenda for December 8th. So we appreciate that.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda minus those two items. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty, we have our agenda. Okay, at this time we come to the part of the meeting dedicated for community comments. And as part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person or by phone as conditions allow, by calling the phone number and entering the meeting ID number. Our public comment procedure allows each person 3 minutes to speak, and comments will be heard during the two community comment periods as listed on the agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board may direct the superintendent to follow up on certain items that arise during public comment if appropriate. As with in-person meetings, public comments received in writing or by email will not be read aloud, but will be directed for follow-up where appropriate. Please be mindful of how you present your testimony, as the board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. So please state your name before speaking, and host, Would you review instructions for any new callers about raising hands, muting, unmuting, timer, etc., and let us know if we have anybody in the queue?
Yes, so there were 2 people who joined via phone just now. In order to raise your hand on your phone, you push *9. And then when called upon, you can unmute yourself again by pressing *6. So if you just raise your hand by pressing *9, that will raise your hand and notify me that you would like to speak. And then when I call upon you by your last 4 digits of your phone number, then you press *6 to unmute yourself. Okay. And at this time, I do not see anyone raising their hand. So actually, hold on a second. Okay, I still do not see anyone raising their hand. So.
It looks like Lieutenant Commander Hood may want to make a comment.
Actually, there is a 8867. I'm going to ask them to unmute now. And
hi there, my name's Michelle Carlin and I'm the athletic trainer at Shelton High School. I would like to talk about just things that I've recently heard on other staff meetings. My dad, who is the construction teacher at the school, and myself have been listening to the staff meetings the last couple weeks, and we both noticed some negative things being said about the athletics department. It hurts me a little bit to hear these things based on my experiences within this program, because that's who I work with and where I work. I just wanted to come on tonight and say how thankful I am for the board for my position and the program that has been built here at Shelton High School. As someone who is not a Shelton native in a position that was brand new last year, I considered myself very lucky to work in such a positive program. The athletic department here is so much different than any other program I've experienced in college through clinicals and at my previous employer, and I'm really lucky. Being in a position in such a great program, I've been given a really big opportunity to create a program that adapts to the needs of the athletes at Shelton. The coaches, club advisors, staff, and even athletes have welcomed me fully into the program, and they are so much more helpful than I could ever have asked for. The environment that our coaches create is one that is like family. Our coaches try to build these teams up on and off the court, which isn't something that happens at every school. They have all managed to adapt their practices and continually stay positive during this ever-changing and uncertain time. We've been working hard with our COVID protocols and communicating changes to our teams to ensure safety for all those who come to campus, athlete or coach. Our athletic teams and myself are so thankful for the support of the board and others involved in bringing them back and letting them participate to the extent that we are allowed right now. Lastly, I want to thank the board and Dr. Apostle for approving the construction on the mini dome and the stadium. I'm very thankful for the new space within the mini dome for me with my athletic training. With this space, I will be able to treat our athletes and perform rehabilitation for their injuries more effectively. And I'm hoping within the next year or two, I'll be able to begin teaching athletic training and sports medicine courses within the academy. If I begin teaching, this facility will be a phenomenal learning space for labs and hands-on techniques there isn't always space for in a classroom. These facilities are beyond amazing, and they'll be a home to some great memories for our athletes now and those to come. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. Do we have someone else that would like to speak? Lieutenant Commander? Okay, he's raising his hand the old school way.
Okay.
Hopefully that still works.
Long as we can see you.
Perfect. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for this opportunity. After that speech, I don't even know where to go, but I wanted to share with you some things that have happened for us here of late in the NJROTC program. We've been successful doing social distancing. However, we're still doing our morning drill practice at 6:30 in the morning. And that is a feat that many other schools have not been able to accomplish thus far. And that is the direct reflection of the leadership that we have here and the commitment from the board to all of our students to try to do what is best for them. Our kids would not have this program if it was not for this opportunity to do so. And I will tell you from speaking with other instructors out there, they have done nothing close to what we are able to do. And that speaks volumes about the commitment from the Shelton NJROTC supporters, the school board, the principal, the athletic director, and the like. So I am forever grateful. It's a little difficult sometimes to do a Zoom personnel inspection. So that little time that we have in front of the kids to be able to build upon the things that we know that makes us a successful program is something that we look forward to every morning. So we just wanted to say thank you very much for this opportunity. We'll continue to keep our distance. We'll continue to wear our masks, and we'll continue to try to lead these young men and women to be the future board members of the Shelton high schools. And we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. Host, do you see any other members of the community raising their hand or wishing to speak?
So there are no other callers in at this moment. So
Okay.
turn it over to you.
All right. At this point in time, we'll go ahead and move on to reports and recognitions. Item 4.01 is the 2019-2020 annual financial report. And will we have Dr. Apostle or Brenda introduce that one? You're muted, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. What we've prepared for this board meeting, I think, is exceptional. It's very transparent. It's to the point, and I can't wait to have Brenda present the annual financial report in detail. Brenda?
Thank you. Aaron, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you are able to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can everyone see that there? Let me make sure. Okay. I want to give kudos to Glenn Shorten because he helped me put together my PowerPoint today. I'm not very good at that, and I kept changing it. So kudos to him. So I'm pleased to finally present the 2019-2020 financial report for Shelton School District. It was a little cumbersome process this year due to all of the account code changes that happened this last year. Per the state accounting manual, they made some changes on how we record things. So it has had its challenges, but we made it through, and I'm pleased to say that OSPI did approve it this past week. So that triggers another set of things I have to do to close the books officially, but I'm grateful to have it approved and through. So also the state auditor's office must have already heard that because they've already contacted me to come to do the next audit. So all right. And if you see me looking to the right, it's because my arrow is over on my right screen that I have here. Per the state accounting manual, it tells us how to organize all of our funds in Shelton School District, and we have numerous funds here. So I'll go through each one of those and explain what they're used for. Our general fund is our biggest fund. It's got approximately $66 million, in revenue and expenditures. That is used for our normal day-to-day operations here in the district. It is instruction, it's transportation, it's food services. Anything we do day-to-day to instruct our students is the general fund. Associated Student Body Fund is at our secondary schools. We have those at Choice, Shelton High School, Oakland Bay Junior High, and Olympic Middle School currently. We are working on creating one for Cedar High School now. So those are pretty much run by your student bodies. They elect officers and they have the say with guidance from the school administration on how those funds are used. They do fundraising, all the clubs, the sports, and that to generate the money. Debt service fund is where the tax collection to repay the bond for all that wonderful construction you've seen around the district. I make those payments twice a year on June 1st and December 1st out of the debt service fund. The county collects the taxes and deposits them straight into that account for us. The capital projects fund is where we are paying for all of the construction that is happening. We pay our contractors out of that fund. We sold the bonds and we've pretty much gone through that money. Now we're using the state match money for the remainder of the projects. And then we are starting on to a new adventure of the Met, which is a trades academy. So we are receiving revenue from our non-high districts to promote that. So we're not slowing down. We're still moving forward on all of our projects, which is very exciting. Transportation vehicle fund, that is strictly used for purchase of school buses. We receive a payment from the state, which is our depreciation on August 31st every year for the active buses on the depreciation schedule. And then we have the private purpose trust fund. We have 3 scholarship funds within that people have asked us to manage their money. So we keep it here, we invest it separately. One of them is managed by the school board, that's the Drake Scholarship. So those are the funds here in Shelton School District. So here is a summary of our funds. As you can see, the general fund is the largest. It has, like I said, $66 million in revenue and expenditures. Our ending fund balance in that is $2,645,910.20, and I will explain that later in my presentation. Associated Student Body Fund, like I said, they generate their money with fundraising. So they ended the year, because they didn't have as many expenditures this year due to COVID as normal. So they ended a little higher than they normally would with $451,278.72. Debt service fund, you'll see 5.9 million in revenue and 5.8 in expenditures. The tax collection, when we sold the bonds, was built that is pretty much an in and out. It doesn't generate extra money. It just flows through for me to make the bond payments on June 1st and December 1st. So right now we have $2,475,935.87. I will be making another payment on December 1st. So that is coming up here next Tuesday. Capital projects, like I said, we sold the bonds back in 2017 for about $65 million. We've used that on our new addition at Shelton High School, the main building, the instruction building, and the high climber gym. And then we did upgrades at other schools. We've just done a lot with that $65 million. And then we were generated $19 million in state match by doing those projects. So Mountain View and Shelton High School generated money for that, and that's what generated the $19 million. So that allowed us to add the Bordeaux Elementary Gym. It allowed us to add on to the mini dome, and then put new fields in at our stadium, and then the 2 baseball, softball fields, and the new track. So we're doing well there. We're continuing on with the contributions from the non-highs for the high school project, and that will be doing the Met Trades Academy. We think that's very important for our students to be able to learn the trades and get certifications to go out and be able to get jobs in the future. So we're continuing on with capital projects. So right now there's $1,451,889.31. We're scheduled to receive just a little over $1 million on December 1st from our non-high districts. The transportation vehicle fund, we did not order buses this past year except for a small special ed bus for $73,000. Holly is excited that she has $250,000 in the bank, so she's out shopping for new buses this next year. She's hoping to buy 2 big buses this next year with that. So and then you have the totals on the right of all the funds put together. So I just wanted to share our vision has not changed. Even though we're in difficult times with COVID-19, we still are moving towards the 100% graduation by 2022. Our mission still is to improve overall academic achievement for all students, increase school quality and student success indicators, ensure every staff member is a 21st century educator, and promote equity in all aspects here in Shelton School District. We, as you know, went totally to online instruction in the spring, and we're continuing right up until now and continuing on to monitor the needs of our students closely during this. We've been, it's kind of in the next year's budget, but we've been buying hotspots for kids that aren't connected. We're monitoring everything to continue on to try to meet this vision and these goals. So here's a little bit about the fund balance, and I'll give you a little history on that piece. I got to get my notes here, sorry. The school board has a board policy. It's policy 6022. It does state it's in the best interest of Shelton School District that the board of directors target a goal of 9% of current expenditures to address potential general fund needs and continue to maintain an acceptable and adequate fund balance for district operations. So just a little bit here, our average monthly payroll in 2019-20 was $4,775,580. And then our average accounts payable, which includes the lights and fuel and food, anything like that, is running $738,814. Our beginning fund balance this year was $2,568,533, which is 3.88% of the expenditures. And we ended just a little bit higher, $2,645,910, and that is 3.99% of expenditures that were actual. That ending fund balance does include a liability that we self-insure our unemployment. So we have an account in there that is for liability for unemployment. And we did have a little bit of LAP and CTE funds that were unspent. So that includes the recovery of those, which will be sent back to OSPI in January. The ending fund balance also includes our inventory, which is non-spendable. We have to book our food service inventory, all of our food and supplies. At the transportation co-op, we have to book all of our fuel and our parts. And then we also book our paper inventory. We do paper orders in bulk, so we get a better rate for our schools. And then we inventory what is on the books at the end of the year on August 31st. So as you can see, our fund balance has changed a lot over the years. We were looking really good in 2015-16 and 2016-17, and we've gone down quite a bit, but hopefully we can maintain or grow a little bit just so we can pay our monthly bills. That's the goal here. So enrollment, I'll talk a little bit about it here. I have another presentation after this one that I'll go in more detail on enrollment. As you can see in 2019-20, our enrollment did end above our budget amount by 320.33 FTE. We budgeted 4,075 FTE last year. Beginning with April, we did not have to report enrollment because we were online. So OSPI came up with a methodology of how they would calculate and fund us, which in the next presentation you will see actually was a benefit to Shelton School District. So we did in 1920 with 4,395.33 FTE. So here is our revenues. I'll explain a little bit how our money comes into us and a few of the changes we experienced this year. Our biggest revenue piece is the State General Purpose Fund, which is mostly apportionment that comes in. It has our levy equalization money in there and apportionment. So that is our biggest portion. It makes up the majority of the revenue we receive. It's almost 62%. State special purpose, you will see, I'm looking at my notes because those are always different pots of money. State special purpose is our special ed funding. This past year, we did have Birth to Two. That will no longer be in the 2021 school year because agencies have taken that over. The Learning Assistance Program is in the state special purpose. The detention center, as you know, we have to provide an educational program there. The funding comes in there for that. Transitional bilingual is a state special purpose. Highly capable funds are in there. And then we get a little bit of money for state food service. Most of it comes in federal revenue, and our transportation funding is in state special purpose. Local taxes, of course, is our levy that we want to thank our taxpayers for passing that. That helps keep the schools going at the level we have because the state does not fully fund the staffing levels that we have currently. So that's about the local taxes are 6.49% of our budget. Your federal money is mostly grants that we receive from the federal government. We do get some federal forest money that has become pretty minimal in the recent years. It's generated by timber being logged. Most of the federal program is, there's a special ed grant that's federally funded. There's a CTE grant, the Perkins grant is federally funded. Title I, Title II, rural low income, Title IV, migrant, limited English proficiency. Food service is in there. Most of our food service revenue does come from federal funds, from the USDA. Other school districts, other school districts. That is, we have a transportation co-op. And so we bill the other districts that belong to that. For that, we run a special education co-op and we bill for that. And then we do provide food for Southside. We don't run a co-op for them, but we do get a little bit of money there. And then our non-high schools pay for the local levy, their portion of that. And that is paid to us twice a year also. We are getting ready to bill for that right now. The other is lots of different pots of money, which has nowhere else to go within this. So any local revenue that we're collecting from students, say they pay for lunches, that type of thing falls in there. Any community facility rentals fall in there. It's not a lot of our budget, but it's just kind of a miscellaneous category that the accounting manual has us use. Some changes in revenue we saw this year. As you saw, we did land quite a bit above our budget on revenue. So that did generate almost $1.7 million above what we budgeted in revenue, which was good because we had some other hits in revenue due to COVID. I want to give kudos to the Special Services Department. They can apply for safety net dollars, which is part state and part federal for high needs students. And they received a substantial amount this year. It was about $525,000 in safety net money. Last year, they received about $299,000. And that application is very complex. So I would like to give kudos to them because that offset the costs we had to pay out local levy. We did have a reduction in food service revenue due to the shutdown. The local revenue for food services was reduced about by $125,000. And that's because we didn't have students here buying lunches. They weren't purchasing lunches because they weren't in school. And then we also had federal revenue reduction for food service of about $439,000. And that is also because even though we continued to serve meals in the program, the federal government set up that we could serve for free, we would still get reimbursed from 0 to 18-year-olds. We still weren't serving enough meals, so we lost revenue in food services.
Can I interrupt for a minute, Brenda?
Sure.
Should we be on an advanced slide?
Oh, I'm just explaining. I didn't include my narrative in here. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine, Cindy. And then our federal revenue came in on some of our grants below what we budgeted, also by about $686,000. What happens when we're working on the budget is a lot of times the federal grants haven't released your new allocation. So we have to budget with what we knew for the current year. So that is that. So now I'm ready to go. So this slide actually gives you a little bit of history on the revenue. As you can see, our local levy is a little bit lower than last year. Part of what happens there is you can collect your dollar amount that you advertise up to the $2.50 per thousand per the new law. But a lot of times there are late taxes that get paid by people, and we had quite a bit of that in 1819 and not so much in 1920. You'll see the local non-tax is quite a bit lower, and that's because of reduced revenue in the food service department and other, we weren't collecting things because we weren't in school. So that was reduced. Our state money, that went up, and that's partly the McCleary decision, went into effect, and that has helped us the last couple of years. So our students were generating, the enrollment was generating a lot of that money that you see that's increased. And federal went down, as I stated, because of the grants, not having our allocations at the time we did budget, and they're lower than the prior year. And that is usually just because the federal government has cut funding in certain areas. And then the other category is up a little bit, and that is due to the fact of new accounting rules with the new account codes. So that shifted some money there. So you will see all of that. So here we're going to dissect expenditures. I have about 3 different slides with different ways you dissect expenditures per the account code system from OSPI. This one is by object. So this tells us the type of thing we're spending it on. So as you can see, the biggest pieces of the pie are our salaries and benefits, our certificated salaries, which is our teachers, counselors, psychologists, anyone that's in the certificated staff is running 41.83% of our budget. And then classified salaries are 19.58%. And then our employee benefits for both groups are running 25.19%. We did, the state moved us over to School Employee Benefit Board this year for benefits, and that did increase costs for us because we are having to pay on more employees than we previously did. Our supplies and materials run about 4.75% of our total budget. Purchase services is 8.23%. That is anytime we have to have, someone come clean something, or Robert has someone come in and do beauty bark for us. All of our copy machine contracts are in there. Anything that is a purchase service. We have some special education items that we have to do contracts with facilities because we don't have the services here, and we transport the students to their facility for service. So that falls into there. Capital outlay is a tiny sliver of the pie. It's 0.35%. It's a little higher than it has been because CTE was buying some equipment and replacing some items for their department. So that was good that they had the funding to do that. And in capital outlay, it has to be an item that it will last at least 1 year, and the cost for the one item has to be over $5,000. So you would sometimes think of our computers fitting into that, but they don't. So they're just in our regular supplies and materials. And our travel was way down because nobody could travel this year. So that is only 0.07% of the total expenditures. So you'll see on this screen, it breaks it down a little bit by category. The salaries for certificate and classified are combined here. That's 61.41% of our expenditures. And again, benefits came in at 25.19. So you can see that is the majority of the school district budget is the staffing and their benefits. Again, the supplies, the purchase services, travel, and capital outlay are just a small portion of the total budget. So here's a different way to break it up. This is by program. The state accounting manual tells us how to, what fits in each category here by program. So in your regular instruction over here, that's the biggest piece. That's your basic education, your alternative education, which we do have that at choice, and then the gravity program, which is the, I'm not losing what I want to say about that. It's run by the ESD, but that money flows through the school district. So then on the top here, you have transportation funding. So anything transportation related to and from school is one program. So that fits into that category at 5.02%. Food services is the same thing. There is one program that we code to for food services, and that is 2.15% of all expenditures. General support is kind of a bigger category. It's anything that we do, say district office, any supports out there that we provide to all of these programs fit into that. So that's 11.88%. And maintenance is also in that piece too. Special education, as you can see, is 14.13% of expenditures. CTE, career connected learning is what we call it now, is 7.44%. Compensatory is a lot of our grants. It's learning assistant program, all of the grants that fall into there. It's supplement to your regular instruction. What helps the kids succeed in regular instruction fits into the compensatory, and that is 8.95%. Other instruction falls into NJR OTC. You saw Commander Hood speak earlier, so that is 0.87%. And then community services, we have to move any transportation that is not to from school over into the community services category. This year, we also had to move some food service costs because once we shut down, any employee that was working had to be moved into community services because we were serving food to the community. So it was a little different look this year than it normally is. So, and here's the historical comparison on that. You can see, you know, we've stayed fairly steady on it. Basic ed went down a little bit on the amount of money. Special education is up. CTE is up because we've started all of our academies at Shelton High School, and hopefully we're going to continue those through K-12. So we're able to use CTE funding for a lot of that. So that's generating more dollars for Shelton School District. The compensatory is down a little bit, and that's because those are grants. And then support services, we're running a little less than that. Community services is up a little, and that's mostly because we have the food services piece that has shifted over into there on the funding. And the other instruction went down quite a bit. And I believe that was due to some of the new account codes that were created that it shifted. So here's another way in the account codes. There is a segment of our account codes we use that is an activity. And so the accounting manual tells us another way to break out. So we can look at our expenditures in almost any way that we want to look at them to decide what is happening. So as you can see, instruction takes up almost the whole piece of the pie here with a little over $51 million. And that is in the accounting manual of what fits into instruction. Instructional support is, you know, your playground people, that type of thing fits into instructional support. So that's 1.8 million. School food services this year is 1.7 million. That is down from what we normally have. We did have last year a reserve in food services, so that helped us with the reduction in revenue this year. Pupil transportation was a little bit more than last year. It's about $3.3 million. We didn't have to spend as much in fuel, but we still had a lot of costs in there for payroll and parts and that type of thing. Maintenance and operations is about $3.7 million. That's up just a little bit from last year. And utilities, insurance, and security. Our utilities remain pretty close to the same, which you'll see on the next slide. Our insurance is up a little bit due to additional facilities. And then security ran about the same. So that was running 1.6 million. Other services is just kind of a catch-all that the accounting manual plops everything else in that they don't know how to separate it out in these other categories. So you have like the pool in there. No, the pool's in public activity. Sorry, that's not correct. I'm trying to think what is in there. I think we moved over the transportation on to from is in there. It's just a catch-all for the things that don't fit into any of these other activity categories. In public activities this year, we did run the daycare during COVID, so that is in there. Some of the food services got moved into there. Our non-to from school is in there. The swimming pool is in there, and any auditorium costs are in there. And then administration is administration for the district. That is the business office, any software we use like Skyward with SIPSI to run our payroll. HR is in there for anything they do for the district, and the superintendent's office and the school board are in that category. So here's a little bit of historical information on our utilities. And this was a little bit of a challenge this year because of the account code changes. We had traditionally made our account codes so we could track these things separately. And OSBI changed all of those codes this year. So some of these aren't lining up at all now. So I'll try to explain that. The solid waste garbage one is, you'll see it's down a lot, but that expenditure kicked into 2021 because we were using our procurement cards from Bank of Montreal, and we hadn't received a statement in time to pay the final bill of the year to kick into 1920. So you're going to see a little bit extra in 2021 on that one. As you can see, the natural gas, luckily they created a code specifically for natural gas, so we're able to continue to track that. That is up this last year, even though we weren't in school, we were still using, we had to keep the buildings going. So we're up a little bit in that. Cell phones and phones, we're down a little bit in that. We did have some phones we were paying for staff, and they decided they wanted to use their own phones. So that's gone down a little bit. Electricity is down a little bit. This year, $551,000 compared to $628,000 last year. So I'm attributing that for school not being in session. City services and stormwater. We used to be able to split this out, and now we're required to put it in one account code. And as you can see, that went up this year quite a bit, but almost $100,000. $394,000 for city water, sewer, and stormwater. And then fuel is for all entities. We, as you know, we run a co-op. So we have Pioneer and Southside in our co-op, but we didn't use fuel because our buses weren't on the road starting in March. So we didn't get another fuel drop till right when school started in September. So the fuel was way down, but what we need to remember is transportation is funded in a specific revenue source, and you can only use that money for transportation. So that will remain there. We spent all of the money that we received in revenue for wages and updating our buses. Insurance, as you can see, went up, and that's because we do have some additional square footage. So it was up this past year by about $100,000. And then our legal fees, our audit fees, yes, we do have to pay for the state auditor to come audit us. And any election costs were about $109,000. They remained pretty constant from last year. So that is all I have. Are there any questions on that?
Questions or comments from other board members?
Thank you, Brenda. That was an excellent presentation. I really appreciate that. It was very comprehensive and helpful for the visual with the graphs to really kind of see, where the revenues and expenditures come and go. That was very confusing as a new board member to really understand that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very clear. I'm wondering, is there a place on our website that we can share just even some of the basic graphs, the pie graphs that, so that our public can see that?
Yes, what I can do is Katie will be posting the actual F196 document, which is not user friendly, but we can post this right along with it.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And I think we've done that in years past too, so this would be consistent with that. Are the new codes providing any new insight or just more work?
There's still some cleanup to do on them. I found quite a bit of cleanup to do when I was closing the books. So I will give kudos to OSPI. They have created a huge, wonderful spreadsheet tool that you can actually look at your program and activity now and see if your object code is acceptable. So that's going to be very helpful to our secretaries and my staff. Actually, we've been using it regularly now. So it really isn't detailing it out much more than we did before. It's just using a different code. So you have to figure out where things are shifting to. So.
Other questions or comments from other board members? It does sound like the idea of a couple or at least one new bus might be helpful as we start to open up something out there on the Nye property, and there'll be more transportation routes, I'm sure, to go along with that.
Yeah.
So anyone else? Okay.
Sandy?
Yes,
Make a comment?
please.
I just want to mention that the presentation this evening further justified a clean and perfect audit for this past year.
It's a good reminder. They do. The budget office has been very diligent, and we appreciate all your efforts. And I think we are ready to move on to item 4.02, the enrollment report.
Okay, I'm going to share another slide here.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, Alex, do you have anything you want to say before I start?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. As you can see, enrollment is taking a different look this year. The top line in the gray was last year's enrollment, the 2019-20, which I just presented in the financial statements. We started the year off like we typically do. September starts out, and then we usually make a climb up for a couple months, and then we start seeing the decline. Luckily, I don't know if you can see my arrow here. This is where COVID hit, and we were shut down, and we were starting on that decline, as you can see. So luckily, the new methodology that OSPI came up with to figure out our enrollment for the remainder of the year actually helped us. You will see we went back up, which we don't normally do. We remained flat, and then we came back down. Typically, you would see us declining in the previous years below. So that was helpful this past year in 1920. What you're seeing now down here is the black line with the yellow dot squares. September enrollment, well, let me back up. We budgeted our enrollment this year with 4,125 full-time equivalent students. We have tried to budget conservatively since Alex came on board, which is a good thing. It actually has been beneficial to us the last 5 years. And it's helping us this year. We started with 4,125, which was 300 FTE below where we ended last year. And it's truly a good thing we did. October, you see, we declined again. We went down to 4,191 FTE. We lost about 23.5 FTE from September to October. And then in November, we are down to 4,159.3. So we lost about 32 FTE in November. As you know, the students are what generate our revenue. So we're about 34.3 above where we budgeted. So things are pretty tight. We have, secretaries making contact with families and students, trying to keep them enrolled, but it's difficult times for people. And so we are seeing an impact. So we are watching this. Alex and I talk several times a day about budget. We're watching this very, very closely to see what December brings and what we need to do from here. So that's where we're at right now. A little bit of more educational piece. September through December, the revenue from the state comes in based on our budget. So right now we're receiving money based on the 4,125 FTE. Beginning in January, it will go to the actual. So if we're below budget, they will actually begin taking some money back from us. If we're above, we'll get a little extra. So any questions on that?
Brenda, is there like a rule of thumb, for each student that we lose? Is there a dollar figure that is attached to that? It probably changes depending on what program they're in, right?
Basic education is running right around $8,000 per student for a full year.
And then my other question on that graph, there's a sizable difference between like 2018 and 2019. So what caused that jump in enrollment?
Honestly, I don't know. It was great. I mean, we had a lot of kids, but yeah.
I can't remember.
Did we growing every year till this year?
Was that the year that we had a bigger kindergarten class as well too? I know each kindergarten class has been bigger and bigger, but
it could have been.
Could have been, right?
Yeah, it could have been. I think our elementaries were quite a bit bigger that year.
I know we were adding teachers to those grades,
right?
Because we needed more classrooms. And my question is, do we know, is this drop in enrollment, is it spread across all grades somewhat evenly? Is it coming from, some grade bands more than others?
It has been pretty consistent. We weren't seeing, OMS was staying strong till this last month, and they actually lost 6 this last month. Probably a little more at the high school level you're seeing than the elementaries, but I'm seeing it at every school.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, just even in my daughter's classes, I am hearing students say that their families are moving, for employment in other areas, things like that. I just wasn't sure how much of an impact, or if this was coming from certain grades.
Yeah.
And also just being in the WASDA meetings last week, hearing from other school districts, what a huge impact their drop in enrollment has been this year to families choosing, different online programs versus their own school district. or just finding or, moving out of the district as well because of employment opportunities.
Carrie, if I'm not mistaken, at the very beginning of the year,
Oh, we lost your audio, Dr. Apostle.
You're
You're
froze
not
again.
muted.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Alex.
He is not muted, so it might just be an internet connection issue.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, at the beginning of the year, we were losing elementary kids.
Mhm.
But now, just like Brenda mentioned, it's kind of balanced out across all of the schools. But at the very beginning, we were losing more kids than we thought we would lose at the elementary level, at all elementary schools.
Yeah, our enrollment wasn't as high as what we were projecting there either, so. Also a side note, we have started posting every month's enrollment report on our website. If you go to the business office, we now have a tag under there for enrollment, and each month we'll be posting the enrollment report.
So Brenda, remind me, I'm not remembering, but so we've been above our projected enrollment, and so far we're still above our projected enrollment. I understand that the state pays us for the first several months of school for what we've budgeted. Do we ever get that difference back? The fact that we're above right now, do we ever get paid for those additional students for these first several months?
Yes, unless the actual in January comes in lower. So that's what we have to watch. We have to keep the average above our budget to get the money in January. If we drop down below, they'll take money back is what will happen.
So in January, even if we were one student below, we wouldn't get the money for the kids we've been over for these several months.
That's correct.
And they would take money back. We would, if we were one below, we would lose that money for that one student.
Yeah, so it becomes an average. I think you see that on your enrollment reports we send you every month. We take these 3 months and average it. So by the time we hit January, we average it, and hopefully we're above. But
okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else with questions or comments?
If I may, I just want to make a comment, not that this helps us at all, but not many school districts in our state are meeting their projected enrollment. We're one of the few. But as the year continues, this issue is going to impact every single school district more and more. And we're hoping that the federal government and the state realize that we are suffering for various reasons in terms of maintaining our enrollment. President-elect Biden indicated that there would be federal support help for the public schools. That would be nice if that would happen. And the same thing applies to the legislature when they reconvene and when they discuss this important issue, because all school districts are losing money because the enrollment is decreasing, and it's causing severe problems. And if it continues, the problems will get worse as we go through the year.
Brenda, I think that graph is a perfect visual aid for anybody that's trying to understand what it is we're talking about when we say how much enrollment is down from from last year. And of course, if you look at that, the typical trend to taper off as the year goes, it certainly does show the position that we're in. And now I forgot my question. I'm sorry.
okay. Would it be beneficial if I post that graph out on our website too, with our enrollment reports? Maybe that would help people too.
I think that might be a good idea. Sure. That would be great.
I think in future board meetings, what we could do is we could become more detailed in terms of indicating where these kids are going, what's happening. Are they moving? Are they dropping out? we have that information, and we'd like to share that information with you and with the community.
For understanding the, where we're at with the budget too, it may be helpful to trend that same enrollment line with our projected enrollment, just to see the contrast of those. I mean, this is really helpful to see where we were compared to previous years and the impacts of COVID, but it'd also be helpful, I think, to see where we are compared to where we projected we'd be.
I remembered my other question. For our students that have chosen to be in the online instruction, not the daily Zoom classes, that FTE is counted in these FTEs, correct?
That is correct. When we first, Alex and I were just talking about this, when we first went to online, we assumed, I guess, for lack of a better term, that the students that wanted to do totally online with us and not, do any face-to-face, that we could claim them under the alternative learning, which does generate more dollars. But in speaking with OSPI Enrollment Department, we are not allowed to do that until at the time we come back to face-to-face learning, and those students then choose to stay online with us. So right now they're all generating the same amount of money.
And that would definitely impact our overall budget if we could count those kids.
That's
No
true.
question about it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah,
Any other
thank you for that.
questions?
I didn't realize that. So that's actually very helpful in understanding the impact on the budget with that.
Any other questions or comments? Anything else, Dr. Apostle?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So at this point in time, I think we're ready to move on to the district improvement plans. And I'll turn that over to Dr. Apostle to introduce the district improvement plans.
Thank you, Sandy. We've been sharing our school improvement plans, and now we're about to initiate reporting our district improvement plans that support the school improvement plans. And Mary Ann Marshall will start us out in terms of talking a little bit about the instructional program K-12 and how that fits in at the district level with the school improvement plans. Mary Ann?
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. All right, just good evening to the board, and thank you, Dr. Apostle, for providing me this opportunity to give a snapshot on what my focus is in the district this year. When we look at goal 1, improving overall academic achievement for students, one of the fun things about my role in the district is that I get to provide oversight and supervision to all of our buildings. And so this year, the focus will be at looking at our school improvement plans throughout the school year. And right now we're wrapping up going through each of our buildings' full school improvement plans. But I also want to focus in on our district improvement plans. And in the district, I do provide supervision and oversight for special ed, academies, CTE, as well as the athletic director K-6. So I look forward to doing this work in the district. And this is a big portion of my role here in the district. And I spend a lot of my time working with my staff. When we go to goal 2, increasing school quality and student success indicators, my goal this year is by June 2021, here in the district, we want to increase the number of 9th to 12th graders that are on track to graduate to 100%, because that is our overall mission here in the district, is to have 100% graduation by 2022. So when we talk specifically about being on track, this data was pulled based off some parameters. So 9th graders, they come in, they're working, and they're collecting some credits right now. So the data that we do have, first off, is with 10th graders. So to be considered on track to graduate, you want to enter into your sophomore year with 6 or more credits. So when I'm reporting on 10th graders, I'm reporting on Cedar, Choice High School, and Shelton High School. When we move on to 11th graders, our parameters are, we want our juniors to come in at least 12 credits or more entering into that grade. And right now we are at 73.53%. When we talk about our seniors here in the district, we want them to enter in to their senior year with at least 18 credits. And what also goes into tracking these credits, it's not just about credits, but we want to make sure that they're getting the credits that they need, because you could easily come into your senior year and still be missing the necessary credits you need for a math or ELA. So working with buildings, ensuring that students have what they need when they move on to the next grade to be considered on track to graduate. Goal 3, ensuring every staff member is a 21st century educator. So I'll be working with our building principals to have completed a comprehensive TPEP evaluation this year. The other thing that we're on track right now to do is to have all of our classified staff here in the district complete 28 clock hours to earn their completion of the fundamental course of study. When we move on to promoting equity in all aspects of the Shelton School District, the focus in my position will be to increase graduation rates for our English learners, our homeless students, migrant, foster care, and Native American students as well. So right now, when you look at the number for EL, as of the end of the school year, last year, we ended at 69%, and the goal at the end of this year is, again, 100%. Our homeless students ended the school year last year at 77.6%. Again, the goal is 100% by the end of this year, as well as our Native American students from 84.6% to 100%, migrant going from 72.7% to 100%. And I'm happy to report that 100% of our seniors who were in the foster care category did graduate. So that's exciting. And I'm very optimistic about these numbers. You know, in 18-19, we had a graduation rate of 58.89% for our Native American students. So we are definitely moving in numbers there. In 18 and 19, our EL population was at 21.9%. And for our homeless students, it was 63.5%. For migrant in 18-19, it was 55.6%. And for foster care students, it was 87. So as you can see, we are moving right along in the right direction, and I'm excited to see where we end for the 2020-21 school year. That is my presentation. Thank you for my time. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions or comments from board members?
Mary Ann, as far as, you know, when we are looking at these percentages, can you give us an idea, like, for example, the 12th graders at 70.11%, how many students does that roughly?
I can definitely get you that information. When I ran my report, I did it in percentages, but I would be happy to give.
No worries. I was just trying to, I'm like, you know, trying to get my head around how many kids you'd be working with to get them where they need to be in those. So I was trying to figure out the size of the class and do the math myself, but I wasn't coming up with it. So
I'm happy to send that to you.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? I really appreciate the time you took to compare the former statistics for us so that we could see the increase there. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to thank Marianne. I mean, this was an excellent report. I appreciate her positivity. These are not easy, goals, especially faced with where we're at with COVID, putting a strain on, some students' ability to, just do their coursework and get those credits. So, this is really important, and I appreciate the focus on getting these, high schoolers at all of the schools that they attend to being on track and graduating, because that is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Sandy, may I make a comment?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. I've asked Bruce Kipper to take this data along with Marianne and their leadership team to take a look in detail what these numbers mean. And it's consistent with what Lynn Eaton mentioned in terms of the 70.11%. I've asked Bruce to really dig deep and go deep on these numbers and find out what needs to happen to increase the percentages. And he's in the process of putting that together. I set a date, but we've been so darn busy that I haven't had a chance to meet with him and Marianne to look at the work that's been done to this point in relation to this issue. But I know for sure that Bruce and his team are definitely taking a look at how they can improve these numbers. They're obviously, we've seen improvement, but quite frankly, we're not there yet, and we need to be there. And so in future board meetings, I would like for the high schools to discuss these numbers in detail and to give us specific information, what they're doing programmatically to increase the success of our high school students.
Thank you very much. I think that will be very, very helpful. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, then I guess we will move on to the second district improvement plan, state and federal programs.
Yes. I'm happy to introduce Kelly Neely, who wears many hats in our district and works very closely with Marianne in terms of the instructional program, but is also responsible for state and federal programs. And she will give us a brief overview of her work in relation to those programs. Kelly.
Hi, everyone. Marianne is getting mine up here. Thank you. Thank you, Marianne.
Is it up there, Kelly?
It was up there. Yeah. Yes. Now, if you'll just put it on. Thank you. So my programs all fold right on into the district improvement plan overall. You'll notice that they go. Yes.
I think we have the other slide up. We need a different one.
Well, yes, you are correct.
Well.
Okay.
Here I was just back away.
Yeah, I thought it was wrong. Sorry about that. Let me pull that up really quick.
It's awesome to have a wingman.
You know, in times like this, I'm always thankful I'm not the one trying to figure it out. I have my screen discombobulated here and people were in odd places. Took me a while to get that figured out. But I also have that same reaction every time I see the bus drivers driving around. Thank goodness it's not.
It always seems like it takes, in your mind too, it seems like it takes hours, but it's only seconds. That's still yours, Marianne.
Practice this before the board meeting. Even I apologize.
No problem. We all have technical issues from time to time. You've done many presentations without problem, so we know.
I didn't want to do it on the iPad because I couldn't practice it.
Okay.
There it is.
Yay! Thank you. So as I was saying, Mine fold nicely into Mary Ann's. The first one that we have for overall academic achievement is by June 2021, all schools, Bordeaux, Mountain View, Choice, and Shelton High School, identified by the Office of Systems and School Improvement for targeted comprehensive support, will be making adequate progress towards existing identification by June of 2020 as measured by OSPI. This one makes me a little nervous. I think that we will be making that growth, but as of right now, we do have the state assessment still on. I don't know if by the time that we get there that it will still be there. So if that's the case, we will move to in-house assessment for that. Our second one is to increase school quality and student success indicators. By June 2021, all state and federal program staff, those are the folks that work like with homeless, Title I, LAP, McKinney-Vento, all of that will be trained in progress monitoring and will have implemented 4-week progress monitoring cycles by February of 2021. That being attendance, on track, graduation, and discipline. This was on for last year, but as we moved into COVID, it did not happen, so I carried it over. Number 3, ensuring every staff member is a 21st century educator, and we are all getting there whether we wanted to or not. By June 2021, 100% state and federal programs identified under the Consolidated Program Review, which is CPR, will be in compliance 100% according to the evaluation tool. Again, that's LAP, Title I, Part C, Title III, Title V, Title IX, foster care, Title IV, and tribal consultation. Number 4, promote equity in all aspects of the Shelton School District. And this is where you'll see the overlaps. By June 2021, 95% of students who attended or are attending the newcomer program will increase their language proficiency in 2 cells by 1 or more, measured by the ELPA 21. So last year, we did not have all of that complete data as we went down with COVID. So this year, it is a huge desire of the teachers, the students, myself, that we really get there. By June 2021, 85% of identified migrant students in grades 9 through 11 will be on track for graduation. Again, we're not even anywhere near that right now, but it is our goal. Gabby Garcia, who is our migrant person, she has been working hours on this to make sure that all of our kids are there, and we have gone through identifying their needs, what they need to make up to get to that point. By June 2021, Shelton School District will have a comprehensive plan for K-4 dual language. That means all of our elementaries. So we won't be able to actually implement the program, but my goal is to have a comprehensive plan to make sure that we can have a dual language track in each of our elementary schools. And by June 2021, staff at all Shelton School District schools will have training in English language best practices, English language development. We're in the process of doing that now, and it's a huge push for us. The EL, and then also the online components. So those are my 4 huge goals and what we're doing. Questions?
Questions and comments from board members? While we're waiting, could you go over the first one again? We were talking about assessments and
yes.
Could you clarify?
Yes. I totally will, Sandy. So the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction has identified through measures that were taken over a 3-year period, schools that are an improvement for either a targeted area or a comprehensive support. So Bordeaux has 3 or more targeted areas. Mountain View has EL. Choice is comprehensive, I believe, and Shelton High School is targeted for EL instruction as well. So hence our big, push to get the EL instruction and professional development for all teachers to help meet those needs. I'm interested to see what the state does, because it's a 3-year cycle and we should be coming up on this should be our last in a 3-year cycle. But since we didn't have data last year, and I'm not sure about having data this year, I'm interested to see if our schools will actually make it out or what they'll do for that measurement.
That will be interesting.
Yeah, yes, because they take a 3-year dip on it. So I'm just not really sure what they're going to do. I'll bet they're not sure either. With that, we get OSSI. That's the Office of System and School Improvement. We get OSSI grants for each of those schools that gives us a little bit of money that we can use to shore up the areas that they're asking us to.
All righty, thank you. I appreciate that. Other comments or questions from board members?
No questions from me, but I just want to tell Kelly, I always appreciate her presentations and her honesty in going over these. These, again, are big goals too. And I know some of them are question marks with what's happening, but I really appreciate your presentation always.
Oh, thank you, Carrie.
May I make
Dr. Apostle?
Sandy?
Yes.
Okay. There's no question that COVID has had a possible negative impact on our school improvement plans. Can you hear me still? Okay. It's had a negative effect on our school improvement plans and our district improvement plans. We're doing everything possible to keep things as normal as we can, but it's very difficult, folks. It really is. But I will make a comment on something that we're working towards, and we're either one of the few or the only school district that has identified the actual meaning of what a 21st century staff member is. And in a future board meeting, I would like to go through that with you. But basically, we're saying that if you're going to be a 21st century educator in the Shelton School District, this is what we're expecting. And we're moving this into the classified staffing contracts across the board, basically, that we're striving for everyone to embrace what a 21st century educator and staff member is all about. So we're working on that every day. We're working on that through the negotiations process with all different groups. And we believe that in the long run, it's going to make a significant difference. Thank you. And thank you, Kelly.
Yes, thank you very much, Kelly. Any other questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, I think that concludes our reports and recognitions. Again, thanks to all the staff that helped with those. We appreciate the information and your time in doing so. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have already talked about removing item 5.06. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as with that removal?
I move that we approve the consent agenda for November 24th.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Saying none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty, the consent agenda is passed, and we are moving on to the discussion and action items. The selection of the superintendent search firm. We're in the very early process of searching for the new superintendent, and the board has chosen to conduct the search with the assistance of a professional search firm. Initially, 4 firms expressed interest in presenting proposals to the board. 1 firm withdrew. That left us with 3 proposals, which we heard in special meetings last week, Monday and Tuesday, November 16th and 17th. The firms that were presented, or the firms that presented, were in order: McPherson Jacobson, Ray and Associates, and Northwest Leadership. Each firm had a team of 2 to 3 individuals and shared a wealth of information. The board met again in special meeting last night to discuss our views, thoughts, perceptions of each of the firms. And since then, we've had a chance to think about what we've heard amongst each other and reflect. So we meet again this evening for a final discussion and ultimately to select one firm to assist us in the search for a new superintendent. So is there anyone that would like to go first? I can say that after doing a little bit of checking, I did learn, we had talked about diversity and learned that one of the firms, I believe Northwest Leadership, while they didn't tout the Native staff that they had, they did in fact have that. So they have a insight in that diversity that may be unique to them. So I just wanted to bring that up. That wasn't something that we were fully aware of last night. So any other thoughts or comments from anyone else?
I'll say I had the opportunity yesterday after we had met and talked to go back and review the presentations. And I did find that there was a unique feature to McPherson Jacobson that did come up that that I did want to mention. I mean, one of the people that's active in the search is a current superintendent. And he was mentioning that that would be very beneficial because as they do the search for superintendents, he would have some knowledge of that person. Whereas a lot of the other firms were dealing with retired superintendents, which doesn't mean that they wouldn't have, knowledge of some of these people or have feelers out, but it just was a different perspective. And then also did appreciate that the other person in that firm was a previous teacher and school board member and continued to be a substitute teacher. That just brought, a different perspective. And I did feel like in their presentation more than any others, they really talked about bringing our community together, having our community voices heard, all of the different groups. So while for me, I was kind of toggling between two groups, that one, when I revisited the presentation, to me just had a couple of features that stood out. I thought all of the 3 presentations did a wonderful job. And I know many of us have said we probably can't go wrong. They are all professional organizations that, do this and place, amazing candidates in places. But I did appreciate just the perspective of a sitting superintendent and a school board member as well, who'd been a teacher. So I wanted to bring that up.
Thank you for sharing, Carrie. Anyone else?
Well, I do think they all talked about involving the community. And I don't know that it was unique about McPherson because maybe some of them touted who they were more than others. Because Northwest, actually, Mark Hottaway is a Macaw member. He started his career at the elementary school as a teacher at Nia Bay. He went through all of the several years there and then moved from there to other places for other opportunities, becoming an administrator. I don't know if he's still an administrator or not, or if he just recently retired, and he's also was just elected to the ESD 112 board. So there's quite a bit of expertise there.
He present in that presentation? Is that the gentleman that was not speaking very much in that presentation?
Yes, Carrie, and I am concerned a bit about, we talk about diversity, but how do we embrace it? Because I did not think that it was unusual for him not to say a lot of words. And one of the reasons is the other gentleman that was there was his supervisor, and he was doing most of the speaking. And
for me, in the 2 other presentations, there was just a lot more presentation by all of the members that were there. And I felt like I couldn't get a sense for that gentleman because I wasn't hearing much of a response from him. And that was just my impression of that particular interview. And so I even, going back and looking at it, I just felt like I couldn't get a sense for the team of people of who they were.
so maybe we should have asked more questions then, or brought it out. Because I understand that that's often what happens. Just because there's different ways to do things in different cultures. And oftentimes in the Native culture, you don't, it's more about humility and building relationships than being on the spot and trying to sell yourself in a certain amount of time. And so when we're doing things interculturally in our world and being diverse, we need to be cognizant of understanding those things, because we all come with our own perception. If it was in another way, it might be that, oh my gosh, this person's abrasive, whereas you're going, no, they're just trying to give you all the information quickly and fast, and so there's different ways. And as we work with a community and a society where we have multiple cultures that we do work with, then in roles like we do have, it's important for us to be able to hear those things. So so I wanted, it's not, I would never see a person in his position brag about all his background. And in certain cultures, that's not bragging. That's just, here, I have all this, I have these credentials and I'm the very best and whatever. And in the Native culture, that's really looked down upon. And so it is difficult when we have judgments because of the way our systems are set up. And it is often the way our society and our deep-seated systems that have been set up in a particular way that we don't get the whole picture. But I thought that they were, I thought that the 2 that were from the Northwest were both great firms. But I too saw that, and so just wanted, to give, when you're talking about the other ones, and I heard that straight out, but the others, the Northwest, there was that background there as well.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts there, Sally. Having been on the board previously, looking for a superintendent. I did work with McPherson and Jacobson. And so I wanted to approach it as, very unbiased. And I figure that was a pretty easy thing to do because it wasn't the same individual at McPherson Jacobson that we had worked with before. That had been Mike Boring, and he's retired. And so it did feel like it was, that I was able to listen to the presentations without bias towards one or the other. There was several things that I did like from McPherson and Jacobson. Felt like a Shelton employee because they would be here so much that we would look at them like they were a Shelton employee for a time. I caught that one of the gentlemen referred to a future superintendent as a she or he, not automatically assuming that it would be a man. Ray and Associates, they seem to be the oldest, most experienced of the firms. Definitely saw their list of, the districts that they've placed people in as more urban, more suburban, not necessarily as rural, but they did offer many workshops and seminars on surrounding topics. Northwest Leadership, I thought, had strong knowledge it was very strong in local knowledge, insightful. One of them mentioned expecting a lot of retirements this year and capitalizing on Shelton School District's progress and strengths. Going back to McPherson Jacobson, I also thought they had a lot of strong local knowledge, and they struck me as being a good mix between a national reach and local knowledge. So those were just kind of the summaries of my thoughts on the three presentations. Anybody else?
I agree with you, Sandy. McPherson and Jacobson actually scored the highest on my matrix. And, but I did like that Northwest Leadership in terms of feeling more like a local, agency that would really understand our community. I did have a lot of notes on Mark Hadaway's background, so I don't know whether he introduced himself or if Dennis Ray did, but I was impressed with his background. So, I agree. I think we could go with any of the three, but I really, for the same reasons you mentioned, Sandy, I did McPherson Jacobson kind of rose to the top because I felt like they could give us a broader reach and also understand our small town community and the needs of our district. So that's my thoughts.
And I agree with everything that's been said. I also, when I went through our scoring matrix, McPherson ended up being the highest for me as well. Though, as others have said, I don't think we could go wrong with any of the three firms. I think they all have excellent resumes and would do very well. They just ended up being the one I think that I felt most comfortable with and that I felt would work really hard for our communities and listen to all the stakeholders. Not that any of the others wouldn't, but I just felt like that they probably would tap in very well and give everyone a chance to have a voice in the process.
Any other comments? Are we ready to take some action, or do we need more time to discuss? If we're ready to take action,
Let's take action.
we can have a motion. And that motion would be to select a particular firm and
Go for it, Sally.
I move that we select McPherson Jacobson for the search firm for the superintendent search.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to select McPherson Jacobson as the search firm for the new Shelton School District Superintendent. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, we will contact them in the morning. I want to thank the board members for sharing your time and your insights. And we look forward to working with McPherson Jacobson. We'll contact them in the morning and proceed with setting up the first planning meeting. The board has tentatively set aside Tuesday, December 1st, and we'll see if that date works for the search consultant as well. If not, we'll be selecting a new date. It is a public meeting and part of a transparent process. And want to thank you again. And with that, anybody has any last minute comments? If not, we'll move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Sandy. And just a few things here. Last week, our school board was formally recognized by the School Board Association as a distinguished school board for the third consecutive year. This is a true honor for our school board, a well-deserved honor, and it's an honor for our school district also. So congratulations on being recognized as one of the best school boards in the state of Washington for the third consecutive year. We are moving forward pretty much on schedule for the new facility on the Shelton High School campus, which will house the Manufacturing, Engineering, and Tech Academy. We are scheduled for an update on the progress of this facility on December 8th. That's the first board meeting and the only board meeting in December. This construction will be funded by our non-high school school districts, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank them for all their support. This facility will be completed, if everything goes right, it'll be completed by October 2021, and that's very exciting. We have consummated the Rose and Dale Nye family property on Cole Road, and we are in the process of planning in terms of how we're going to structure a trades academy on that property. I would like to again thank the Rose and Dale Nye family for their generosity and their goodwill. We are again planning a formal signing in the near future on the family property. I just have a special thank you to Rose for all her work. Planning continues for our new Cedar High School, including the future location of the school. That's still kind of up in the air. We're talking about various locations for that school, and we will continue to update you on our work. Finally, I would like to wish our staff, our school board, and our families a safe and enjoyable Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. This moves us to community comments. The second opportunity in the course of the meeting for community comment. And host, do we have anybody that has indicated they would like to comment?
I do not see anyone who has called in who is connected right now. So I will give it a few seconds, a moment, in case there is.
Okay. Again, the community comment, the second community comment period always follows the superintendent's report. So if there's anybody that is listening, you'll know that that's kind of your cue to get ready for community comments. Anybody coming online? I'm not seeing any. Do you?
Correct, yeah. There is no one who has called in as of yet.
All righty. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to board member comments. Who'd like to go first? I usually start with Sally Carr, so I'll do that.
All right, thank you. I will make mine really quick because I'm having some internet connection issues. I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and to especially say a big thank you. I'm thankful for the staff in our district and all the hard work that they've put in. It's been an extraordinary year, to say the least, and you have continued to go above and beyond to serve our students and to serve our families, and you are appreciated. And with that, I think I will go ahead and close my comments before I get kicked off.
All righty, sounds good. Next one. I'll go Sally Brownfield.
Yeah, I don't have too much tonight. Just do appreciate everybody hanging in there. It takes everybody, the teachers, the administration, everybody, the bus drivers we do have working, and the maintenance, and just it takes our whole community, and it takes our parents that are doing this in a totally different way, and our kids that are trying to hang in, and just hoping that everybody stays as safe as possible so we can get back more together as soon as we can. So just wanting everybody to be safe and have a great Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you very much. Carrie, would you go next, please?
Yes, and I wanted to just comment about how each one of the schools has been doing special things for the Native American Heritage Month. And if you haven't seen it yet, Mountain View posted a video today. They've posted several things, but our own school board member, Sally Brownfield, makes a showing in one of those. And so that was nice to see as well, too. Tonight, I thought I might potentially be late to this school board meeting because I was taking my daughter to OMS for the Harvest Hoopla. And that's something that they do every single year. And it was no different tonight, even though it was different. But when I got there, there was a line that went all the way out to the street. There were cars that were actually out in the road. Thankfully, we're not too busy of a town at that time of night. But all of our vehicles had food that we were donating to the school. And each team of teachers was outside in a tent. And my daughter and I had a mask on in our car, and we were handing the food over to our team of teachers, which was really nice to see their faces and wave. And I can't begin to explain how just even small points of contact like that right now are so important to my daughters. And I know other kids and the teachers were saying that as well too. And we saw teachers that my daughter had last year. And it was really wonderful. And it was also just wonderful again to see how much our community steps up every time to give, even when I know there are people probably that are struggling right now themselves, but they were bringing food to give that will go to Saints Pantry. And also in return, the school was giving pedometers to every student, whether they brought food to donate or not. They could come to the school and get a pedometer because they're going to start doing activity challenges and utilize those pedometers. So just some really creative and neat things that the schools are doing. And I appreciate each school that's taking the time to put those out on social media, because that's some of the best way that I catch those. So thank you for that. I know that all of the school board members participated in the WASDA, our school board annual conference that's statewide. It was virtual this year. We all got to do some really great professional development. And one of the benefits of virtual is that we get to go back and revisit anything that we missed. And they always do some very excellent trainings for us. So it's really nice that we're able to go back and actually review that content, I believe, through July of next year. And I do want to also give a special thanks to Marianne and Kelly for their help and assistance in pulling together supportive documents and working collaboratively with the board to do our application that helped us get that Board of Distinction. I always feel like that's a reflection of our school district. And, you know, there's just amazing things that we can highlight that our school district is doing. And it's really nice to hear the Shelton School District name put up there, not just for our board as getting that board of distinction, but just all the work that everyone is doing that we can highlight. And I'll just end with also saying happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm very thankful and grateful to all of you that are working so hard at this time to just help support our students and our community in all the ways that you're doing it. It's been pretty amazing, and I'm very thankful for all of you.
Thank you very much, Carrie, for that. And Lynn, you're next.
Yes, so I want to report on my attendance at the WASDA meetings. I was very impressed with how well they were done and the platform that they used. It was very easy to navigate, and I attended a lot of different sessions from legislative to different equity things, some budget stuff, and it gave me as a new board member really some good perspective. But I think a bigger takeaway was just being able to benchmark our district against other districts in the state. And it was really refreshing to see, we are implementing so many of these things that they're talking about that are best practices. And it just kind of made me very proud to be part of this district. So like everyone else has said tonight, great work, everyone. And thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And I could say ditto, 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 ditto. And I'll just round out with a couple of housekeeping things. We have the community has the community forum on December 3rd. And then our next school board meeting is December 8th, and we will have reorganization of the board chair and vice chair. So those are upcoming things. And at some point in time, we'll have a meeting with the new search consultant too. So with that, concludes board member comments. We have no need for an executive session this evening, so we can move for an adjournment if someone would make a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We can stand adjourned. And again, thank you all for being here tonight, and a healthy, happy Thanksgiving to you all. Good night.